Hello and welcome to episode 27 of our Timberborn Update 6 Apocalypse Mode playthrough here in Cycle 18 at Day 10 at the start of an 88-day bad tide, just in time after we finished our diversion into the main reservoir from these couple of sources here, and we were able to get a pretty good amount of it stored in here, which is fantastic news considering 88 days is the longest bad tide or drought that we have had so far in this playthrough, the maximum being 100. So, I think we can feel pretty good about our progress to that point, and of course there's still plenty to get done, but let's briefly talk about what I would like to do in today's episode. Obviously, the goal in a long drought is to have enough water to survive, and the biggest part of that is we have to fill up all of our storage. We're currently about 9,000 down on capacity versus how much we have actually stored. So these pumps are going to be putting in the work necessary to fill everything up here. And then we also have these 3 tanks that we hadn't finished yet because we wanted to focus on getting our diversion set up. Well, now we do have the opportunity to go ahead and put these tanks in. We just have to make sure we're not going to use all of our metal. That was kind of the big question mark as we're going through all of this. We also need to be able to have pumping capacity in District 7, as it were. We have this guy right here, and then this guy, when it gets unflooded, we'll go ahead and get some water out of it as well. But we need a better long-term solution for that. And while it does make sense to pump out of the main reservoir, we also have all of this here that is currently unpumpable. We're going to do some more with this in a little bit as well. But we have this thing right here. We're not growing any trees or crops, so we might as well just pump all of this out, or as much of it as possible, while we still have the opportunity to do so. So if we put this on transparent water mode here, you can see that there's not really a great place to put water pumps that will go all the way down, because we built our little bypass there. We have a depth maximum of 6, which if you put it on this guy right here, will actually go all the way down. So we obviously would like to take advantage of that if at all possible. But somebody, I'm not going to name any names, but somebody decided that it would be smart to just abut this right here to keep everything nice and centered, which does actually look pretty good. But it's, you know, I maybe could have done a little bit of a better job of aligning stuff, and now I kind of have a problem. So I think what's going to need to happen is we're going to cover this with a couple of platforms, and then we'll just build water pumps right off the side right here. If I flip this, I can do one here, and one here, and I can have 3, which for the size of District 7 is probably okay. It's just going to look a little suboptimal, and I'm just going to have to swallow my pride on that one. But I don't think that's really that big of a deal. So let's go ahead and get that process started. We will need to have access with our paths just right the way across. Kind of minimize our impact there. I'll just have these come right through here. There's not really any better looking way to do it, so apologies to all of the aesthetics inclined of you who will think this is not the most beautiful thing we've ever made, and you'd be right to think so. But that is going to be something that they definitely do need to get going with, and I would really like to avoid having silly billies here. So I guess we'll see how they do in getting this stuff built. I think as long as we're not finishing things in the wrong order, we shouldn't have any problems, and it should kind of self-correct when it gets to that point. I don't know. I could be eating those words in a little bit. But we talked a little bit last time about kind of creating a diversion here, or not so much of a diversion as just making the reservoir, quote-unquote, here smaller. Because let's be honest, we really don't need to be storing water up here, because we have this big reservoir, and we can also just put in some irrigation dumps. So that is why I started the process of putting terrain blocks in here to try and just create a channel that would dump straight out this way. And we definitely do need to get going with that. But part of the problem is going to be that, first of all, as some of you pointed out, they can't reach these terrain blocks. I guess technically they can, but they haven't started building this because we have the construction priority way down. And we're not really doing them any favors either. by not making super quick access for that. So we are going to have to continue getting this situated, and we can actually split a couple of these going the other way so that they have a better chance of actually accomplishing stuff. Now remember, we do have 87.2 days left. I'm going to get that in triple speed. But it's going to take some time. I know how much you guys love that saying, or don't love it, as the case may be. But we'll get stuff figured out. We have to get these trees out of here. This is the most annoying part about doing this, is getting these trees out. Because, man, it's so annoying. But you got to do it. You got to get it done. That is just the way it goes. So if we pop this in here, then we can, of course, eventually send beavers down wherever they may need to go and get this all taken care of. I do think, unfortunately, this is going to result in us having to just remove trees incrementally. I'm not going to cut these down for wood. I don't think it's that big of a deal. We do have plenty of trees that can be cut down for much more efficient wood gathering, so I'm not gonna make them come cut these down for wood. We'll just let them do what they got to do. So we'll come and check on that in due time throughout today's episode as we try to get stuff accomplished. I'm also not going to promise that we get through the entire badtide today, unless I decide to do a tremendous amount of time lapsing. But that does take a lot of time in real life that I don't always have to have the game run for 3, 4, 5 hours. But we're going to do what we can with what we got. That's what we always try to do. Had a couple people concerned about the amount of scrap metal that we have left in this district. And yeah, that is going to be a concern at some point, but please keep in mind that we do have access into these little, I don't even know what you want to call these. They're not really canyons, but we do have access down here with the help of some stairs to get a lot of this, and then these guys as well. And then I don't think we're going to need to worry about it for quite some time. But eventually, we will need to use the underground ruins. We do have access, since this is Iron Teeth, to the advanced efficient method. Because this is still update 6. I have no reason to believe this playthrough would be possible in update 7 just because of all the mods we're currently using. But if it gets to that point and we're still doing this by the time those are stable, then I'd definitely be open to swapping that over. But the efficient mine recipe for the Iron Teeth, if we have 9 beavers or bots in there, that's going to produce enough to, I think, what does it run, 6 of those smelters all at once. We currently have 4 of them going. Again, this is not optimized. It's super, well, suboptimal. And that is just the way things are going. But I'm going to go ahead and get that other large tank started that was partially constructed. And they can start pumping water out of here because, well, this isn't going anywhere else, so we might as well make use of it. Get these guys filling up everything here. And then our main area, we still have a lot of work to do in terms of making full use of what we have here. And I think what's going to make the most sense long term is, since we planted all of this canola here, we have a tremendous need to kind of reclaim some of this space for other uses. Like right here, we have these swimming pools. Now, 2 swimming pools for 100-some beavers is not enough. And even though this district only has 112, I think we probably should try to put at least 2 more in, which would fit pretty nicely here. If we removed the canola, we could have our path split a little bit differently. And I also need to, well, maybe need is a strong word, but we probably should consider removing this irrigation pond and then taking a little bit of this space back as well, considering how much we have access to over here. We did make some what's the word I'm looking for? Some progress, I guess you could say, with our showers by putting these 3 over here. I probably should remove these, but you know how that goes. We will see what happens. But there's other stuff we can get to as well. We have not bothered to do wind tunnels or exercise plazas or even the detailers. Like, we have access to, well, not a lot of it, but we do have access to extract, and that's a pretty simple thing. We do have a motivatorium here. I'm not really in love with this setup, this location, but, you know, it is what it is. And we do have a frog statue, which, if we take a look at our well-being, I think we will find that almost all of the beavers are taking advantage of. And the 17, I think I can do math, who are not, I believe are the beavers who live here, that may not have easy access unless I put one in here and I don't remember it, which is entirely possible. I don't know. I honestly, at this point, don't know what to believe, so this is what happens when you have like 5 different playthroughs. You're trying to do it once. We really gotta start paring at least 1 or 2 of these down. But I'm not going to give up on something until it's finished. That's not something I'd like to do. So I think what we can start out with, as we try to get into the rest of our stuff here, is at least get rid of these canola things here and start the process of turning this into additional swimming pools, and taking a look at what we can do to maybe move some food production elsewhere. Although, honestly, we seem to be doing pretty well with what we have here. I'm not tremendously pleased with the throughput on stuff like soybeans. So that is a reason, I think, to try to make this a little bit more efficient. We'll see what happens. Like I said, tons and tons and tons of stuff to get to, and it's not really going to be a very quick process for any of it. But we are starting to put some water in this large tank here, which is fantastic news. We have some coffee being grown. I paused the coffee brewery because we were trying to get this construction accomplished, and I think we can safely turn that back on. And I feel like I can go ahead and... Oh, that's already deprioritized? Cool. Yeah, so we'll turn that coffee on and we can continue making more. Not like we were going to run out, but everything in time. Eventually. Well, that is what in time means, isn't it? And then over here in Numa land, we got to do something over here. But again, it is a bad tide, and we have 83.7 days left, so we have plenty of time to think about that if we're going to be doing that. I think the best thing that we can do right now is just make sure we get as much water stored as possible and continue working on the things that are going to enable that. Like I said right here, I was going to put these terrain blocks back in place. We're going to get rid of this log pile and move it over 1 so I can have this path. And I'm not going to wait for them to, unload this whole thing. We can choose to utilize our energy in more efficient ways than just being stressed out all the time. So let's just do it. Get that taken care of. They'll pick up all the stuff off the ground, and life will go on. But what we will have to do here, remember this is update 6, we don't have access to 3D terrain. We will have to extend this out this way. We do have the help of our 6x1 overhang, which will actually get us perfectly in line to have a doorway without worrying about something else. So I think what's going to make the most sense for us is to blast that out and blast that out, and then this area here will end up being a 3x1, and then this area here will end up being a 4x1, just to have access to everything, so we can build 2 more tanks here, have this random set of, I guess, 21 tanks just lined up nice, ready to go, and we can try to maybe do a little bit of something else here. The name of the game is making sure everything is working as best as it can, however we have it set up. And I feel like our stacks of raw storage versus completed storage are a very good step there. We talked last time about putting in some bridges connecting everything here, and I don't actually think that I measured this, but we know if I get the, let's just try this with the 4. That should reach with a 4 and a 5, or 2 5s if I come off of this side here. Remember, we did want to get these connected. Not necessarily going to be a super simple task to get that situated, but I think it's something we probably should do sooner rather than later. I want to make sure I can clear all of this stuff and that I can actually attach to the bottom here. Ah, see, no. We can't stack these. That's the unfortunate thing. So, man, that's a little demoralizing. We're gonna have to take this whole stack down, I think. And if we want to have additional bridges besides just 1, then I do think we're going to have to put in some overhangs. So if we did that, then what that's going to do is allow me to put in, yeah, what the heck, we'll just do this. Put my 5x in here, and then actually, you know what? I became a victim of my own math. Seems to happen a lot, huh? Get this popped in here. And if we want to stack, you know what? You know what? See, this is why I have trust issues with myself. I end up just doing this garbage all the time. The 3s could have done it. The 3s could have done it easy. Easy, no problems. So if I have, I mean, we don't have to have like a ton of these, but at least one, we can start with that. Start with that and make sure that this is going to be a viable thing. I think it's a smart idea. We can do a couple more, but at the very least, that will be a start. We'll get something accomplished and we can move on from there and continue improving stuff. The amount of algae that we have in terms of rations is very good. It's basically full. Raw algae, we're not out, but we don't have a ton of it, and I do have a lot of storage, so I'd be very interested to see the trend on that. We do have access, thanks to the Goods Statistics mod, to these little arrows that'll tell us whether it's trending upward or downward, the estimated time to fill. This says 62 days, but we don't know how accurate that is because the algae takes 288 hours to come out of the hydroponic garden. So, okay, so now it says 19. I think it's honestly probably just mostly based on vibes over anything else, and that's not really a very scientific way of looking at stuff. But it is nice to see that it is generally trending upward, and we can more or less be pretty confident that it's going to eventually be okay. So, that's going to go there, that's going to go there. We'll get this path all the way in. Very simple, like, put in a couple more large tanks, whether or not we need them, just because we can. And that should give us a pretty good indicator of the survivability of a 100-day drought. If the 88-day one, or drought or bad tide, I guess I could use them interchangeably because the function is basically the same for irrigation and drinking water purposes. We'll see at the end of this what our stock is looking like, and more importantly, what our irrigation is looking like. Now, the reason you'd want to pump all of this as fast as possible is because, of course, water that is in a storage container does not evaporate. Water that is in a reservoir that remains unpumped does evaporate. And even if we pump all of it out, if we have sufficiently large reserves of it, we can always put it in a water dump later, instead of just relying on this to gravity feed into our channel here. But that's something that we can continue looking at. Second deep water pump in here is now functioning, which does mean we're getting a lot of water brought in. We have enough, I think. Yeah, we have enough pieces of the rest of the stuff to make another tank. We do need to have more gears, but I've kept most of this stuff paused because we don't have enough beavers, which presently is a little bit of a concern, mostly in the upper district, but down here everything seems to be fine. So this brings me to the next thing we wanted to talk. I know, yap, whatever. But we need to get into bots, probably sooner rather than later, just as a function of making sure that we can actually get stuff done, not because they're not going to survive without the bots. But we're at the point now where I think it's probably unwise to continue adding additional bio-beavers, just from a standpoint of trying to feed and water them. Bots, of course, don't require all those things, but they do require materials. And that has been something that we've had a little bit of a challenge with. Metal especially is going to be very hard as we continue moving forward, just because of the manpower, beaver power, whatever that is required to make it. But if we have bots, then we can feel a whole lot better about a mining situation. And, of course, bots don't get injured, and they can work 24 hours a day. So I think that probably, maybe not right now, but we should start making some moves toward that being a viable thing to do. And we have plenty of power. We are generating a tremendous quantity, like 4 times as much as we need, basically. Almost. And the way that this area is set up right here would be almost perfect for us to put in some bot part factories. Now, normally, if you've seen my other series, you already know, I try to make 2 sets of bot part factories, and I try to have 4 of the assemblers in the general vicinity as well, so we can make a whole bunch of bots real quick. And that usually ends up being enough to sustain the bot populations I typically require. And I see no reason to change that at this point. So, seeing how this area is set up, remember how I have, we got planks and logs here. We have gear storage somewhere. Actually, maybe we don't. Maybe we don't. I don't think we need to have 1,400 gears. We have 1,290. They seem to be... Is that this district? Yes, so we have the gears. They're being stored here. They just have to be imported. Which, you know, maybe that's not the most efficient use of stuff. But the point I am trying to make is we have the ability to put the rest of the storage we need for the bots right here. Remember, I've been kind of holding this in reserve this whole time. So if we were to put in some more warehouses right here, I could put some gears. I could put one for bot limbs. Get this tree out of here. Go ahead and get these pathways out of the way. And we can start the process of building some bot part factories. But before we start actually making bots, we really need to make sure that our supply chain is robust enough to support it. And keep in mind, every bot is going to require 2 blocks of metal. They're going to require 15 gears. Remember, I learned something. I learned how to do basic math. 15 gears, and they're going to require 10 planks. Now, metal, to have 2 blocks of metal for every bot, and a bot takes 36 hours to assemble the parts. Not necessarily to make the parts, but we can consume in one bot assembler every 36 hours no more than 1 bot's worth of parts, and that's if a bot is running it constantly 24/7. So, in theory, as long as we can produce at the beginning enough bot parts inside of, let's say, 2 days, 2 working days for the beavers, which would be 32 hours of work at the highest possible end, then we're going to be okay. Obviously, we can scale stuff up. I know somebody's probably screaming at the computer or the TV, or however you choose to consume my videos right now, telling me that that is wrong. And if that is you, I want you to know that I appreciate you, and your concerns are valid, and you are probably correct. But we're going to go ahead and move on. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of this set up and get something brewing so we can actually make progress here. So, we have gears, we've got the limbs, and I'm just going to put in heads and chassis as well. Obviously, we need to have a lot more limbs, but I don't think there's going to be any scenario in which we ever have 200 of any bot part without them being used. So that's going to be fine there. And I do have space for one more 3x3 here. If we choose to use it, I don't think we need to worry about that at this exact moment. We should just focus on getting stuff done. So, taking a look at our science situation, we have 12,000. We have Metal Cruncher up and running. We probably could build another 1 or 2 or 3, but I think I'd rather focus on getting bots going because that's going to be a tremendous asset to us as we continue working. We got bot part factory here. Remember, we can stack these, but I'm going to start by just putting them down like this. The Iron Teeth ones do connect more nicely to other stuff, so I'll keep that in mind. We already have these, what do you call them? Ladders. It's actually very concerning that I can't remember that anymore, but that's the way she goes. Go ahead and get this situated here. I guess I could leave this ladder at the far end. I'm trying to remember, this is update 6, so the ladders mod is slightly different. You do have to delete stuff as it comes by here. But if I go ahead and just have that situated there, we should be okay. Should be okay. Just get that connected all the way across. And let's go ahead. Let's start by making limbs. Yes, I know the gear situation is going to have to be improved, but if we start making limbs, we can start stockpiling those before it becomes an issue. So, I said we had to have storage for gears. This is going to be prioritized there. Let's check our importing. We are importing gears, and that's good, but we also need to be making them. And we do have one workshop here. We're gonna add more, but I'm gonna get that turned on and see where else I can kind of trim workers where it's not gonna be necessary. For now, I'm going to pause these 2 water pumps because we have 3 here, and I definitely want to take advantage of this while I can. And that's going to get us to deficit of 4, which are currently being taken out of the builder's huts, and that is a-okay. So, obviously, making 1 gear every 3 hours is not going to quench the thirst, so to speak, of all of our bot part factories, as this one, by itself, making limbs every 4.5 hours consumes 3 gears, so we need to build a whole bunch more of these. But we're making progress, and that's what matters. We have 3 of these. I can stack another 3 on top, and then on top of that, I could put 3 of the assemblers. But I think the easier thing to do, given how we typically tend to build these, is going to be to put a 4th bot part factory here, and then put 2 right here, and then I can have the assemblers, which, keep in mind, still do require a lot of materials to construct. We have to have this guy. Ultimately, have 4 of them, but I'm going to start by having just 1. And I will keep these paused so we don't accidentally use all of our gears to construct the buildings that make things that consume even more gears. We have to start the ball rolling with the bots, and then it's going to get a lot more easy from that point on. But you can't go too far too fast, or it's like it's going to end up being bad. I don't know where I was going to go with that. But you can see what's happening here. So we do have some limbs coming in. If I start making chassis and heads, then obviously those are going to consume additional parts. But it all comes in time, and I think we're going to be just fine as we continue moving along here. I would very much be interested in trying a little bit of an experiment here. I think I've done this before, and forgive me for not remembering because that is a tall order. But yes, I can stack these. I can stack these. I can stack them. That is going to be cool. I know I can't do it on the top of the food factory. Actually, before I say that, let me make sure I'm not going to be an idiot. Okay, so that works. And by that works, I mean that doesn't work. But I can stack on top of the gear workshop. I don't know that I can stack on top of the plank thing. No. See, we did this. Now it's coming back to we did this in the what playthrough was that? Is that the start of the update 6 one on the? It was a Folktales playthrough on. I don't remember what the map was called, but regardless, I don't think they can actually reach this. Oh no, they absolutely can, because this isn't finished building yet, and if I pause it, then they can build this platform from the corner, and then they can build this, which means they can stand on this, and they can build that, and then they can build that. So on and so forth. And then I can do something perhaps ill-advised, like put an overhang here, which is going to allow me to have this, have power along the backside, because I can't connect it any other way here. And then have another thing on top of this. Now, do I need to have all this stacked on top of other stuff? No, I really don't. But I want to. And that should be good enough, right? Now, what we can also do, since we're probably not going to have to stack storages here, is we could have this loop around and then put additional stuff like lumber mills and gear factories and stuff on top of here, directly interfacing with this. I think that's going to be the smarter thing to do. So let's just, let them build, let them do what they want to do, and we'll come back and check on that in due time. Remember, we do have to keep an eye on our gear consumption, but we do have 1,000 of those things, and again, in due time, it'll all make sense. That's ready to go. Get that unpaused. Let them do what they're going to do. Check out how we're looking here. Okay. Good. Now we can continue having the beavers come in and take care of some of this stuff. We just have to decide where we want this to go out. I think it's going to make the most sense to just make a left turn right here and come in straight like that. So if we are going to utilize this space like that, then we probably need to just have these guys fill in whatever they can fill in. and move on from there. Hopefully no silly billies. That would be a problem. Then I guess, you know, if we don't actually need to have water stored in here, we could just let all of this out right now. I don't know. One piece at a time. Otherwise, we're just going to be sitting here hemming and hawing about it, and nothing's going to get accomplished. But we might as well go ahead and raise this up so it doesn't have anything. So this is going to be so much dirt, but I don't care. I don't want there to be anywhere where the water can be trapped and just stay somewhere. So that is, that's going to be the time to get this done, is right now. So, hey, remember like early in the episode when I said something about I didn't think I wanted to do a time lapse? Well, I'm probably going to do it anyway. But I do want to make sure that we have bots started. And by started, I mean start employing them in certain jobs before we get too far. And I do think it's probably wise to put them in the most dangerous jobs first, even if it does cost more money. Science money. There you go. Science points. SP, whatever you want to call it. And I know the bot assembler is 10,000, or it was at some point. I don't know, maybe it changed, but we're still in update 6 on this playthrough, so pretty sure that's going to be 10,000. And if we have that unlocked first, then the bot assemblers can just always be running. But if we send them into metal production first, in terms of the smelters, then we're going to be able to get ahead on that. And I think that's going to be important to get that taken care of. But before that happens, we do have to have a way to charge the bots. So we've got options here, right? I need to have power pass through to go through here. And I had originally planned on just, you know, putting one of these guys in here and putting in power shafts behind it. But then I remembered, if I back this all the way up, then I'm going to have a space right in front of this that I could put a charging station, and I think that's what we're going to do. But before that happens, I need to make sure that this area here is going to be rendered accessible. So, get off of that. We're going to go ahead and, even though I can't stack on top of this, we're going to put this in here like we can, because we're going to need to be able to at some point in the future. We'll just bring this around this side. Now, we don't have to have the power connect that way because we can just have this go vertically on top of that. But I think I want to have access to the full width of this for that purpose, so we are going to need to have the power run this way. So, what are you rambling about, and who do we need to call for help? That is not a question I can answer to either of those. But what I can tell you is that we are going to end up putting something on top of this, and we do need to have access this way for the power. I'm just trying to think if it's going to be worth, like, say, putting this right here. I think it's worth having. It's just going to look a little funky. It's going to look a little weird. But I still think it's going to be good enough. I want to put a ladder here, which I probably should go ahead and do before things get super complicated. Just put that in place. And then to get up to the doorway of this guy, we can, of course, put a ladder. That's going to look super ugly. Thank you. Yeah, see, if I just put that guy right there, that's going to be perfectly fine. And honestly, 2 of these lumber mills for where we are right now is probably going to be enough if we can augment what's coming in from the other district. Remember, we have all of this production, and half of it's paused. So this isn't about replacing that. It's about augmenting the imports so that it doesn't become an issue. All right, 87%, 88%. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to build the charging station, even though I can't use it yet. I'm going to get this put in place because we're going to have to be able to hook it up when the time comes. I just need to make sure that this is ready to go. This one does have to be finished first because of how it is built. As long as what's underneath it's done. Oh, no, it is. Okay. So that might actually be okay if we build this first, but we do have to have these platforms put in place. Wait, why did I build those with 2? Oh, I should have just made that a double high. Yeah, you know, there's not really a good reason I can think of why I did it that way, but if they haven't actually started construction on this, then... Oh, no! What a disaster. What a bad idea. Alright, well, you know what? You know what this has done? Is this has given me an opportunity to completely change up what's happened here. And that means I can... See, I wasn't counting on that. I can put in... Oh, see, now I have to worry about the logs going into the wrong spot. I can't shove those out of the way because they're just going to go back behind. But long story short, what this is going to do is this is going to allow me to put the gear workshops on the bottom, and then I can put 2 of the lumber mills on the top, and that's going to be fine. We have the ladders. Everything's right here. Should not be an issue. So we'll get them working on that. But I am very excited to announce that we do have our very first bot, who should be right here, aimlessly wandering around, doesn't have any way to recharge himself because somebody didn't build the charging station. But I digress. We need to get him doing a job. And I did say it is 10,000. I did say that would be smart, but I do think getting the smelter going is going to be the most important thing because metal is going to be severely limiting. So we'll go ahead and get that swapped over. We, again, do have to have a way to charge the bots. And we do have the ability to put another... Well, I guess I could put 2 of them right here. That would be an easy thing to do. Go ahead and just get this started right there. We'll have 2 chargers. Nice and easy. Ready here. No storage space available for logs. Okay, well then we're not going to worry about it. There's no crying in baseball. Well, maybe there is. But that's going to go there. Put those overhangs right... Oh, I'm so glad I did this way. You know, I would love to sit here and pretend that that was on purpose, but I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. And also, if you've watched enough of my videos, you know there's no possible way I could have planned that in advance. So we're just going to take them as we can and let them get started on this. We have the second bot already more than halfway complete, which is very exciting. And yeah, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape if we can get this all taken care of. I do want to go ahead and set this as bot run as well. I'm not going to do all 4 yet, but I really want to be able to build the rest of this. Why are we waiting on... We have planks, right? This district? We should. Yeah, we got planks, we got gears. It really shouldn't be an issue. I guess the builders are just a little bored, a little tired. Not feeling it today. Well, that's something we can fix later. I guess, seeing how there's really no longer an excuse, we'll just go ahead and we'll start the time lapse now. I'm not going to know off the top of my head right now how long it's going to be, what duration of the bad tide is going to encompass. But what I'm going to try to do during this is, one, get the rest of this bot infrastructure up and running. I showed you the most important part, which was we made the first bot, and we have our charging station, so we can slowly start integrating that, and then we're also going to do some terraforming in that that little pool there. Try to make that into a channel that can just dump it straight into the reservoir, make incremental improvements, and depending on what else we can get accomplished, might start moving toward making that mine over here. But like I said, lots to do, and this series is getting a little long in the tooth, so to speak, and it's, you know, 88-day bad tide. That's like 3 episodes on regular speed. So I will save you the grief. I will save myself the grief, and I'll save us all the insanity. And just try to get a whole bunch of stuff done right now. And we can talk about what they got accomplished whenever we're done. We'll see you on the other side. Okay, so let's come out of this time lapse now and talk about what we got accomplished. You can see we got 26 bots currently working, and we now have 5 who are unemployed. So we got a little bit of a choice to make here, and that is, do we spend our 4,000 science on automating the dirt excavator with the bots, or do we go ahead and research the mine? I think it probably should be the mine, because we have managed to get rid of a lot more of the scrap metal in the period of time that we time-lapsed. And while we do still have a decent bit left, it's going to run out sooner rather than later. So I'm going to go ahead and get that researched. And we have to decide which direction the entrance is going to face. Previously, I'd thought it would come in from here. But seeing how this is where all of our metal processing is, I think we're probably going to want to face this a different way. And I'm not entirely sure which way that probably should be, but I guess this way makes the most sense because of how everything's going to get connected here. We have a couple options to make this a little bit less circuitous and nonsensical. But we do need to get this ball rolling sooner rather than later. I think that would be a smart choice. We have the 6x1 suspension bridges here that honestly we probably should go ahead and replace with 5x1s so we can get a little bit of space back here. I don't want to get rid of this while there's beavers on it, so let's go ahead and do that, and we'll get this situated here, and then I suppose one right there. I get my 5x1s. Just clean this up a tiny bit. And what that's going to allow me to do is, I obviously can't put anything on here while the dirt excavator is in its place. But what I can do is I can take this triple platform away. We still have access to this. And I can turn that into a double platform and then an overhang. So I can either go, say, 3 out here, or I could... Well, oh, wait. Hold on. It's going to let me get away with this? Really? Alright, cool. I thought that wasn't going to work. But I guess I was incorrect. So, this is obviously one level higher, so there will have to be a way to access that. But that is easily solved with a set of stairs. And then we can get this connected so much more nicely there. Looking quite good. And since this is nice and clean and dry, we can come in with a set of ladders, get that situated. We will, since this is update 6, have to supply the stuff to run the mine, which, I guess I gotta unpause this, is going to be gears, treated planks, and dynamite. So 2 of those 3 things, of course, go in a medium regular storage, and the other one can go in a large, this thing, industrial pile. And we have the ability to make this a super simple process with the help of our friends overhangs inside our little crater here. We just have to be kind of careful about how we do it. So depending on how I want to set this up, I think what might make the most sense, first of all, check out, okay, that's not going to work. Is this going to work? Here and here, yes. Will a 2x1 work there? You better believe it. So guess what? That is now a viable option for us to put in a very simple stack of those regular things. And I guess we'll just go ahead and do that there. Now, it's not going to be the same story on this side because, of course, those are 3x3 things. However, we do have the option of putting on top of all of this stuff, depending on how we want to have this laid out, that probably should be taken care of as well. If I put a 2x1, that does in fact work right there, which means I can put in a large industrial pile right like so. But the problem we're going to run into, I think, is this entrance is not going to be accessible without some sort of other provision there. So I think, unless we want to do some sort of shenanigans, I might have to just rotate this 90 degrees, or I guess in the other direction, and that's just going to have to be how that's going to be. So, treated planks makes sense to go there, and then since we don't have to worry about running into the big rotating fun wheel here, I can just come over and put in triples, and then a set of 3x1s, and then we can set this guy to the scrap metal. Set that to supply, of course, set these to obtain, both of these as well. And before you know it, we're going to have this thing operating, getting some scrap metal generated, and in some sort of reasonable vicinity of all this mess right here, we do have scrap metal storage here that is set to obtain, and this should be set to supply. Very easy. We're making explosives. Well, if this wasn't paused, we'd be making explosives right here. So we'll go ahead and turn that back on. And of course, we're making gears. We aren't making treated planks up here. We probably should be, but I don't anticipate that's going to be a tremendous issue for the time being. So, 44 days left in the bad tide here. We've made some decent progress in getting this whole thing kind of situated, but it is a gargantuan task. It is going to take a long time, but this is already some decent progress. Remember, the goal is to have as little resistance as possible for the water coming out of here to go into this reservoir here. We will have to continue blasting this out a little bit. We will replace this with dirt or just get rid of it entirely, but all that stuff takes time. We have still a decent amount of water remaining, but we are only about, I don't know, 35-40% of the way through the bad tide, so all this water is going to go away. We still have about 5,000 empty storage for water, and they're going to continue pumping away, and I'm inclined to let them. The only problem we're going to run into is when this dries out, and we do have a fluid dump here that should keep most of this safe. This is no longer actually an irrigated fluid dump, so we do have to watch out for that. And then this is its own thing connected to all of this. There are no more irrigated fluid dumps, so that is something that we probably should be concerned with at some point. But I think for the time being, we're probably okay. We may need to explore putting in a water dump somewhere over here just to kind of keep crops irrigated. But if we have enough stored, that's not going to be an issue. I'm more concerned about getting everything pumped at this point in time. And currently, our main district is pretty much completely full. The extra capacity comes up here in District 7, where we do have these 2 completely empty tanks, and this one that's only about half full. And then, wow, this one as well? Completely empty, okay. So that's something we got to take a look at. We have so many bots that presently are not doing much of anything. So let's see. Science, I did put in a second number cruncher. Hopefully you saw that. That's 2,000. Just trying to think. Obviously, I don't have the 4,000 science for this yet. I don't think our coverage of the power is necessarily great to have all of the bots be builders and haulers. That is a very, very slow process. This dried out, so I paused that. Obviously, that was a smart thing to do. But we do have the bot production process entirely run by bots at this point. Skynet achieved, etc., so on and so forth, whatever. But I think probably... even that's 800. I hesitate to export the bots down here. But honestly, there's not really much of a reason to avoid doing that, because all we'd have to do would be to put in a couple of charging stations. They could probably do some pretty good work with the farming down here. So, you know what? Let's just do that. Let's put one of those there. I know this is not like the most ideal thing we've ever done. But having access to something is better than nothing in almost every scenario. I don't think I have any other hidey-hole spots to put any more of these guys. So maybe it's going to end up just being this single one right here. And we have them set to be fermenters. Because I have, right now, I've got 9 of these things that are absolutely begging for a home. Now, wait just a minute here. You know what I can do? Well, I can just go ahead and pop in another charging station here, and you know what? That's going to solve most of our problems, folks. Have that set there. We just have all of our fermenters, since those do seem to be lagging behind a little bit, set to be used by bots. And if I have extra, see that's 750, this is 750. Food factories, honestly, right now are seeming like they're probably going to be fine. So if we're going to make use of the bots, they should be within range of the charging stations. And since we only have 2 of them currently, obviously we can put more in other spots, but we're going to have to plan that out. We probably shouldn't have more than 10 bots, I would think, in this district. And if we have all of the fermenters assigned to bots, then you know what? 4 is going to be just fine. So let's go ahead and make our minimum bot amount 4 down here. And that'll help this get off to a little bit of a better start. We can continue working on up here. I have them set to builders, and obviously that has been its own set of challenges because if you paid attention during the time lapse, depending on how fast it ended up being, you would have noticed at different points during that we ran out of extract, and I didn't have the centrifuges turned on, so I turned those on, but then we ran out of bad water. because I didn't have the bad water pumps turned on, and then I turned those on. And all of that was because we ran out of dirt, because the dirt excavator didn't have extract. I guess I kind of forgot, since, you know, Update 7 has that without any supplies whatsoever. But we solved the problem, and we are slowly working our way toward getting everything set up to run by the bots, and so on, so forth. We still don't have any extra beavers, because somebody ran out of extract, like I said, which paused the breeding pods. So the numbers on those guys dipped a little bit, which I guess at this point is just to be expected. But we've made very good progress for a whole lot of what we have going on here. I do think for the sake of, you know, just having more storage and close right here, and I have all these canolas that haven't been harvested, I'm going to say goodbye to these squares here. And I'm going to put in 2 more of these large tanks so we can have that close at hand for all of the pumpers here. Remember, we want to have as much storage as possible. Well, we managed to fill up most of what we have to the point where I can't see the bar down here. That bar. So that is something to be pretty proud of. I know there's still a whole lot of stuff we have to do, and all this water will be gone, whether it's pumped or evaporated. It will be gone at this rate as it's being released in here, so we might as well just put it in a tank. Remember, we can always re-irrigate, like I said before. Just a matter of getting that stuff accomplished. So we're going to get them in here to take care of this, and I think we're going to be about at time to wrap this episode up. There's, again, a lot of stuff we have to do in this series, and it is not going to be a fast thing, so I will make use of the time-lapse when I can, and when it makes sense. It's just... Again, it takes time. This is a super, super long, super detailed, super hard series. And I'm honestly kind of impressed we've made it this far. And I know a lot of you guys really like this, so I'm going to try my best to keep it going in ways that make sense. But there's probably going to come a time relatively soon where we're going to have to put this one to bed, just because the nature of how we decide to do the videos here kind of makes it hard to do giant projects without having a whole lot of time lapses, and then, you know, some people don't like those. And I want it to be something that everybody can enjoy. And it's impossible to please everybody, but, you know, most of the time I feel like we do a decent job with that. And I'd like to keep that if at all possible. But all that being said, it's about time to say goodbye today. We got most of the stuff done that I have in my notes here. We did a couple of well-being improvements, but not a lot. This stuff just takes time. I say it all the time, and I know you're probably sick to death of me saying it at this point, but it really does take a long, long, long time, especially when I am attempting to, you know, talk the whole time and narrate what's going on and make it so that it's not a tremendously boring video. I do my best. I don't always succeed. I'll be the first person to admit that. But I feel like overall, it's been pretty productive. A lot of the stuff that I had planned was relating to getting the irrigation channel, whatever, resolved, getting water secured a little bit better, and then getting into bots a little bit. I know we couldn't do the whole bot thing, but I feel like we got off to a pretty good start. We do still have 9 bots who aren't doing anything. So we will be slowly integrating those guys as we have the network to employ them. But for right now, that's going to be it. You know, Beard Boosters, you already know. But I'm going to say it every time. Can't do it without you. You make it possible to do all of our fun stuff and make sure the channel is a sustainable thing without kowtowing to the algorithm or the constant demands of whatever the hot trend is. We like the Beaver game. We like other games too, and we're going to get back to those very soon. But I don't have to worry about, you know, oh, no one's going to watch episode 800,000 of this, that, or the other quite so much, when I know I got people that are directly contributing to the longevity of the channel and making sure that I'm able to continue doing this stuff, because it takes a whole lot of time. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that you guys could be doing, but you choose to watch these videos and you choose to be part of a very positive, very helpful community. I am always going to be thankful for that. So whatever it is you're doing with the rest of your day, I hope you have a fun and a safe time, and we'll see you back again soon in this series and all of the other ones. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.